What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Wednesday, January 17th, 2024, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 1:34 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from the Middle East and from Eastern Europe. So I want to update you guys on the situation with Pakistan and Iran and Israel first. So yesterday, Pakistan was hit by missiles that were launched from Iran. Iran launched missiles into western Pakistan. Apparently, they were targeting some terrorist groups, but Pakistan is now furious and they have begun live fire exercises off the coast of Pakistan. Here you can see a notice that was put out by the British Maritime Organization, and they're going to be doing live weapon firing today and tomorrow. It says here naval ships will conduct depth charge firing with live ammunition. Okay, so this is huge, guys. The Pakistan Navy is doing live fire exercises. They're going to be using depth charges, which are basically anti submarine munitions. And who knows what else they're going to be using, but this is huge news. Pakistan has also canceled all high level talks with Iran and has told Iran's ambassador, who is currently in Tehran, not to return to Islamabad. Islamabad is the capital of Pakistan. Okay, so this is huge, guys. Absolutely huge news. Pakistan is a nuclear country, and apparently, two children lost their lives and three others sustained injuries during that missile strike conducted by Iran on western Pakistan. Okay. So this is absolutely huge news. We also have some breaking news coming in from Israel. The Israeli Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi, says that the likelihood of war with Lebanon is higher than before, and it could start in the coming months. Speaking to troops in northern Israel during a drill simulating an offensive in Lebanon, Halevi says the IDF is increasing readiness for fighting in Lebanon. We have a lot of lessons from the fighting in Gaza. Many of them are very relevant to fighting in Lebanon, and there are some that must be adjusted. We want to reach a very clear goal in Lebanon to return the residents to the north, all the communities in the north, he says, referring to some 80,000 displaced Israelis due to the Hezbollah terror group's daily attacks. I don't know when the war in the north will happen. I can tell you that the likelihood of it happening in the coming months is much higher than it was in the past. Halevi says, I can tell you that I think we are starting it with many more advantages. Okay, so here's a picture of him. The guy to the right here with the three stars on his shoulders, that's Herzi Halevi. Okay, so he's saying it could start in the coming months, and they did a massive rehearsal yesterday and today. Okay, the Israeli Defense Forces did a rehearsal of an offensive on Lebanon yesterday and today. So this is huge news, guys. They are practicing for it. They are getting prepared because, as I just read to you, at least 80,000 Israelis had to be relocated out of northern Israel since the war in Gaza started, because Hezbollah has been launching missiles into northern Israel on a daily basis. Okay, so it's not safe for them to live there, and they want to return people back to their homes. Okay, just imagine if you lived in Minnesota and Canada was lobbing artillery into Minnesota on a daily basis, and they had to evacuate International Falls, the city up in Minnesota, up there on the northern part of Minnesota. They had to, let's say, evacuate that city for several months. Eventually, we would want to return our people back, wouldn't we? So Israel's going to do whatever they need to do. They're not going to be pressured by Biden or any globalists. They're going to do what's best for their people. Netanyahu has made that clear. And here we have an official press release from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs from the government of Pakistan. Let me just read to you what it says here. Pakistan's strong condemnation of the unprovoked violation of its airspace. Pakistan strongly condemns the unprovoked violation of its airspace by Iran and the strike inside Pakistani territory, which resulted in the death of 2 innocent children while injuring 3 girls. This violation of Pakistan's sovereignty is completely unacceptable and can have serious consequences. It is even more concerning that this illegal act has taken place despite the existence of several channels of communication between Pakistan and Iran. Pakistan's strong protest has already been lodged with the concerned senior official in the Iranian Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Tehran. Additionally, the Iranian charge d'affaires has been called to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to convey our strongest condemnation of this blatant violation of Pakistan's sovereignty and that the responsibility for the consequences will lie squarely with Iran. Pakistan has always said terrorism is a common threat to all countries in the region. Such unilateral acts are not in conformity with good neighborly relations and can seriously undermine bilateral trust and confidence. Okay, so they're doing live fire exercises now, guys. Okay, Pakistan is not screwing around. Okay, live fire exercises with their navy. Okay, this is pretty serious. And I want to read to you what Mitch McConnell said yesterday about the situation with the Houthis and Iran. He said that effective deterrence means hitting what our adversaries hold dear, not just empty terrorist warehouses. Biden owes it to the people to explain exactly how he intends to force Iran to change its behavior. The Biden team is working according to a very naive assessment of the threat we face. So, strong words from Mitch McConnell criticizing Biden, calling the Biden team naive, saying that we're not hitting them hard enough, and that Biden needs to explain to the American people what he's going to do to change Iran's behavior. And Senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas said that the Houthi rebels are being trained and armed by the Iranian army. Okay, I repeat that again. Senator Tom Cotton said the Houthi rebels are being trained and armed by the Iranian army. And yesterday, in my update last night, I shared with you guys an update from CENTCOM, and CENTCOM said that they intercepted a boat, a ship that was transporting advanced conventional weapons from Iran to Yemen. And that's why those 2 Navy SEALs that are missing now in the Red Sea or the Gulf of Aden, that's why they're missing, because they were trying to board that ship and they were going to try to stop it and seize the ship. Okay. So this is serious, guys. Okay. You see where this is going, though? They're trying to connect the Houthis to Iran. They want evidence that there's a connection. And once they have that evidence, then they can go to the UN and ask the UN for permission to launch a strike on Iran. And I think that's what they're trying to do here. That's why they intercepted or interdicted that ship with all the different missiles and missile components on it that was heading for Yemen from Iran. Now they have proof that Iran is arming the Houthis and giving them these advanced weapons that they wouldn't otherwise have. And they're using those weapons to target all these merchant vessels that are going through the Bab al Mandeb Strait, okay, one of the largest international shipping corridors in the world. So they can make that connection, and then they can say, well, it's not just affecting us here in the US, it's not just affecting Israel, it's not just affecting NATO countries, it's affecting everybody, even our enemies, even China, even these countries that we're not really on good terms with, it's affecting them too. And then that would build the consensus for a strike on Iran, okay? And so the Biden administration could be looking for justification on the world stage, okay, to go after Iran. We'll have to wait and see, though, because the Biden administration has shown extreme weakness on all these different war fronts, okay, making us look extremely weak. That is why all these enemies of freedom are getting stronger and bolder, and they're making these moves like Putin invading Ukraine or North Korea testing solid fueled missiles and one with a hypersonic warhead and firing hundreds of artillery shells into South Korean waters, and the situation in Israel, and now Iran firing missiles at our consulate and at Pakistan, and who knows where else they're going to launch missiles next. Maybe they're going to go after our oil fields. Okay. They did it a few years ago. They can do it again. All right. So get prepared, guys. Things are really getting crazy. On top of that, we have a divided country here in the U.S. Okay. We have Republicans and Democrats just totally, at war with each other. Okay, and this election is going to be probably one of the most intense elections in our lifetime, potentially in the last 100 years. So we could have internal issues here in the U.S. We could have even riots and civil unrest across the big cities around the election time. So you really need to make sure you're getting prepared as much as possible. Make sure you have at least a few weeks of spare food on hand. Make sure you have at least 2 to 3 weeks of water, drinking water, preferably more, and you need to have some way of replenishing your drinking water. There's different ways of doing that. You can collect rainwater, you can go to a local stream or river. There's all different kinds of things. You can melt snow, you can desalinate ocean water if you live near the ocean, okay? But find out what works for you the best, okay? If you live in a big city and you have an apartment, a rainwater catchment system would work really well. Even if you just have a tarp that you can hang up on your balcony and just angle that tarp so it drips the water down into some kind of a basin that collects the water. Okay. If you live near a stream, okay, figure out how you can collect that stream water and how you can purify it and make it safe to drink. Okay. It depends on where you live. If you live in Canada and you have feet of snow around you during the winter time, that's your water source. Okay. Just melt it down. But get prepared, guys. Okay. Also, think about self defense. Self defense is extremely important these days. Carry 24/7 a self defense tool if it's legal for you to do so where you live. Okay. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, they have brought back their 25% discount on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com. The link is in the description below this video. But this 3-month emergency food supply is freeze dried, so it has a 25-year shelf life. And it's all contained within 6 rugged water resistant buckets, and free shipping is included. So again, use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply. It's really a no-brainer. 25-year shelf life. You don't have to worry about your food preps going bad. You don't have to worry about rotating anything. And it's all contained within 6 buckets. So you can find the space to store 6 buckets, guys. And they also have a general store. If you click on the My Patriot Supply logo at the top of the page when you get to preparewithnyprepper.com, you can access their general store, and they have all kinds of prepping and survival items for sale. They have MREs, they have survival seeds, they have potassium iodide, they have survival bars. So check it out. Preparewithnyprepper.com to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply. And the link is in the description below this video. Because the chances of terrorism are higher now than since before 9/11. Okay, and this was confirmed by the FBI, the DHS, and the National Counterterrorism Center. They put out a joint statement before Christmas saying that the chances of terrorism are extremely high and that we should expect attacks here on the homeland. And then we had another report come out just a week ago saying that Hezbollah could try to carry out attacks here on the homeland. Okay, cyber attacks, they could go after our critical infrastructure. China has backdoors in all of our critical infrastructure. They could just log into all our different power plants around the country and melt them down and destroy things and, cause power surges and, do all different kinds of things. So get prepared. Things are really spiraling out of control around the world, and we're only 17 days in to 2024. Okay. And the Biden administration is expected on Wednesday to announce plans to redesignate the Houthis in Yemen as specially designated global terrorists. The U.S. delisted the Houthis as both foreign terrorist organizations and as specially designated global terrorists in February 2021 as the administration sought to make it easier to get humanitarian aid into Yemen. And you see what they're doing now in Gaza with this humanitarian aid, how they're forcing Israel to scale back their operations and try to pressure Israel into basically giving up. And it's all about the aid. We got to get the aid in there, but they're not focusing on the problem, which is Hamas. And honestly, guys, I think the reason why we pulled that second carrier group out of the Middle East was not because it needed maintenance or it had to be redeployed like the official announcement was. I think it's because we wanted to pressure Israel into giving up its war in Gaza and also into not going after Hezbollah. Okay, that's why we moved the carrier out of there, because we basically are telling Israel under the Biden administration, listen, we're not going to help you. Okay, you can go after Hezbollah, but we're moving our carrier group out of there. You're going to have to do it yourself. Don't count on us. Okay. And I think that's really screwed up. And I think that's the Biden administration's way of applying pressure on Israel, which is just so wrong. I mean, they're one of our top allies, guys. I mean, it's just insane. And the Iranian foreign minister said that the Houthis and the rest of the factions in the region do not move under orders or instructions from Iran. So he's basically denying that there's any connection between Iran and the Houthis, which is complete BS. He also said that Washington's full support for Israel is the basis of turmoil in the Middle East. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reportedly told local council chiefs from communities near Gaza on Tuesday he anticipates the war against Hamas to extend into 2025. And the U.S. is going to be evacuating one of its military bases in northeastern Syria, according to Iran's Tasnim news agency. That's their state news agency. And there was a large rocket attack from southern Lebanon towards northern Israel last night. Apparently, these rockets impacted in Sheba farms. So, a lot of stuff going on in the Middle East, guys. I'll keep you updated on everything going on over there. And I still believe that Iran hit a U.S. consulate 2 days ago with missiles. Okay, they're never going to admit to that. Not this administration. No way. But I believe it happened, and they're trying to sweep it under the rug so everybody forgets about it and make up all these stories that, oh, the missile landed next to the consulate, but it didn't actually land on the consulate, or, oh, they went after Mossad headquarters and not the consulate. I don't believe any of that. Okay. You could believe whatever you want. You don't have to believe me, but I know what I believe, and I'm sticking to it. And France is going to sign a security guarantee with Ukraine, just like the UK, and it's going to finalize the security guarantee during Macron's visit to Ukraine. So this is very interesting. It looks like there's going to be a trilateral security guarantee for Ukraine that's going to involve France, the UK, and Ukraine. Very interesting. Okay. So I don't know what's involved in this security guarantee, but I'm assuming it probably means that if Russia were to go after the capital, or if it looked like Russia was going to try to take the whole country over, then France and the UK would either deploy their forces or transfer a significant amount of equipment. Now, Ukraine is already trained on a lot of NATO equipment. The only thing they're missing is the training for the F-16s and the Eurofighter Typhoons and a lot of the NATO fighter jets, but they're training now in Europe on those systems, okay, on those fighter jets. And France is going to deliver 40 more Scalp EG long range missiles to Ukraine. French President Macron announced at a press conference, okay, 40 long range missiles, guys. They could use those missiles for anything. They could go after the Kerch Bridge again. They could go after the Black Sea Fleet. They could go after Novorossiysk, which is where Russia has another big naval base, okay? I want to just play some videos for you of Putin and what he said at a press conference yesterday. He talked about the negotiation process with Ukraine for some kind of a peace deal or ceasefire, and he's basically rejecting that, saying that he's not going to give up what he conquered in the last year and a half. So let me just play this for you.
Что касается вот этого переговорного процесса, попытка побудить нас отказаться от тех завоеваний, которые мы реализовали за последние.
So he says, as for this negotiation process, the attempt to induce us to give up what we conquered over the past year and a half, well, it is impossible. Everybody understands that it is impossible, and they, the ruling circles in Ukraine, understand it.
Невозможно. Все понимают, что это невозможно. И они, правящие круги на Украине, понимают. И западные элиты.
And the Western elites understand it. Everyone understands. So strong words there from Vladimir Putin. And the Institute for the Study of War said that Russia is planning a massive offensive starting in February once the ground freezes really solid and they can move heavy equipment again into Ukraine. They're going to launch a massive offensive of their own against Ukraine, and they've already concentrated at least 20,000 troops in southwestern Russia close to Kharkiv. So we'll have to wait and see, but NATO is going to be doing their largest military exercise since the Cold War, starting February, lasting all the way through June, which is the same time period that Russia's offensive would take place. And also, the UK is deploying 20,000 troops to Eastern Europe, to the Baltics and Poland, which is the largest mobilization that the UK has done since World War II. Okay, they have never deployed 20,000 troops outside of their border in the last almost 100 years, guys, in the last 80 years since World War II. Here's another clip of Putin talking about the Ukrainian counteroffensive, saying that it failed.
Но инициатива полностью находится.
Not only has the counteroffensive failed, but the initiative is completely in the hands of the Russian military.
В руках российских вооруженных сил. Если так будет дальше продолжаться,
if this continues, Ukrainian statehood could be dealt an irreparable, very serious blow.
Украинской государственности может быть нанесен невосполнимый, очень серьезный удар. Но это их зона ответственности. Это
But this is their responsibility. This will be the result of their policy, their rule.
Тогда результатом их политики, их правления. Это совершенно очевидно.
So he's basically saying that Russia is winning the war and that Ukraine is going to lose the war, and Ukraine could be taken over completely by Russia or destroyed somehow. Basically, their economy is going to be destroyed by the war. Their population is going to get messed up if they keep sending all their young people to fight and die. So Putin showing a lot of confidence there. And apparently, Ukrainian missiles and drones were launched towards Russia last night. Here we have some footage coming out of Belgorod showing Russian air defense intercepting Ukrainian missiles and drones. Now, Belgorod is right next to Ukraine, it's just a few miles from Ukraine. And in the last 2 weeks or so, Russia has been really beefing up their security in Belgorod. They have been sandbagging public locations. They've been putting up concrete barriers. They evacuated hundreds of people, including school kids. Okay. You don't do that unless you're expecting a city to become a war zone. Okay. So something is being prepared by Russia. I think they're going to try to go after Kharkiv, the Ukrainian city, which is right next to Belgorod, and maybe they're expecting fighting to take place in Belgorod in Russian territory. And the Russian Ministry of Defense said yesterday that 2 Russian strategic bombers conducted a 7-hour training flight above neutral waters in the Sea of Japan. And it said that the Sukhoi 35S and Sukhoi 30SM fighter jets accompanied the flight, which was conducted in strict accordance with the international rules for the use of airspace. So, Russia flying nuclear bombers near Japan, guys. Okay. And we have some concerning information coming out of Kharkiv. There was a Russian missile attack yesterday. Apparently, 17 people have been injured. And apparently, this was an attack on the center of Kharkiv. At least 10 residential buildings were damaged, according to preliminary information. 2 women are in serious condition. Another 12 people are in mild and moderate condition, and 3 people have refused to be hospitalized. Very concerning, guys. And Poland's parliament has voted to remove immunity from prosecution of a lawmaker who used a fire extinguisher to put out a Jewish Hanukkah candle in the country's parliament building in December, an incident that caused international outrage. So I guess in Poland, you have immunity from prosecution if you're in the Polish parliament. So they're voting to strip him of that immunity so they can prosecute him for what he did. Okay, he took a fire extinguisher and tried to blow out the candles, put out the candles of this giant menorah that was in the Polish parliament building for Hanukkah. And also today, the Taiwan Ministry of Defense reported more Chinese aircraft and Chinese naval vessels near Taiwan. Apparently, some of them entered Taiwan's southwest ADIZ. So that's the latest breaking news that I have, guys. I will be back this evening with more breaking news, so make sure you're subscribed. Hit the notification bell down below so you get notified when I post these updates. And until then, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.